Oh my God. So, welcome to the Apparent Voice, you guys. Welcome to our Friday, August 21st show. I am like so fired up. I am so on like 139 right now. Oh my God. So, I have a wonderful guest coming on, and the purpose of her coming on the show was to help me rethink, is to help me rethink homeschooling and how those partnerships look, and I'm going to introduce her in a second. But what I would love to just announce for one moment, oh my God. Okay, wait a minute. Y'all got to give me a minute because I got to share this. Forgive me. I forgot. Oh Lord, I'm hyped. Okay, wait a minute, y'all. Just 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Wait, dang it. Wait, where's National Parent? Look, I forget what I'm looking up. National Parent Union. So, as most people know, the National Parents Union announced a grant process for people who want to do homeschooling or pod schools or just help families figure this thing out, right? And the grant process went into effect a couple of weeks ago, and it was going to be a quick turnaround just simply because we know schools have to start. And there are so many parents who are confused and they're trying to figure out what to do, y'all. Like when I say it hurts my heart to see mothers and fathers talking about their babies and they're like, I want to do this, but I don't know what to do. And so I officially am one of the grant winners to help some of the families in Detroit. So I will have an announcement next Tuesday, you guys, about our process, what we're going to be doing. I would like to reach out to a certain amount. It's going to be a small amount of parents, but the other portion of our process is going to be like helping as many parents as we can. And oh my God, I'm just so thankful to the National Parent Union. I really am, Carrie, like to have power to fund and support parents to make decisions and have the tools they need, baby. Okay, okay. I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. So I'm going to invite on this phenomenal guest who's about to help me get my life together. Me and her had a conversation. We just met this week. And last week, you guys know, we had the show with Ben DeGrow, and he talked about homeschooling, and he connected me to her. And there was some things I didn't even know was going on in our own state, like things that have been in kind of silent, and people don't know about it. So I want to bring on Cindy. Cindy, please come on. Please come on. Oh my God, y'all, I'm so hyped. Cindy Fidel, how are you, love? You are on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. First of all,
Hello.
congratulations, Bernita. How exciting. I'm so happy for you.
I feel like a little kid. Oh my God. So Cindy, so me and her had a conversation this week, y'all. I got to open up with just telling you that I felt like I should have had a recording on my phone to record all the information she was giving me. And she has agreed to help me through this journey of figuring it out, of how homeschooling looks. But when I need y'all to pay close attention. If you know any parents who want to homeschool, especially in Michigan, I need you to pay close attention today. I need you to share it. I know it's Friday. I know it's the evening, but I need you. I'm gonna kind of shut up. I hope I'm gonna shut up. And I want Cindy to really talk to you about the work that she's done with homeschools and the partnership between parents and schools and how that has looked for some of the communities in Michigan. So Cindy, go ahead, introduce yourself, and I want you to just start wherever you want to start.
Okay, well, I'm Cindy Fidel, and I'm a homeschooling mom myself. I homeschooled. I'm a very unusual homeschooler. Normally, homeschoolers have very big families. I have only one son, but he's a good one. And I homeschooled him from birth to college. All of his life, he never went to a public school. And I'm very well connected with the homeschool community because when you guys start entering it and create even your own local homeschool community, you'll see that we all need each other. We're a very tightly knit community, and we help each other and we need each other. And that's one of the coolest things about it. So there's a lot to say. I hope that I want to give you the information that is most useful to you. So please feel free to stop me at any time and switch my gears if I'm not going down a road. But the first thing I just want to tell you is Michigan is a wonderful state to homeschool in. We are completely free here in Michigan. Not everybody will tell you that, but we are very free in homeschooling. There's only one thing that we can't do. We cannot take the core, if you guys are familiar with the core classes, or they call them essential classes in Michigan, we are not allowed to take them with a public school. That's why homeschoolers get their own curriculum. But we can take them in that version of AP, and when your kids get into high school age, you can take them at college. And you're probably thinking, high school, college, what's she talking about? But junior college is really high school done in one semester instead of two. So when your kids get college age, a lot of us always did this, and now the public schools endorse it, where you can go to college and you can get your high school credit and your college credit, but you get your full year high school credit for doing just one semester of college. So that's something that is even embraced by the schools. So other than that, about the core classes, we're completely free. You don't have to report, you don't have to register, you don't have to do anything. And if anyone tells you that you do, they are wrong. 100% wrong. We also have an organization in the state of Michigan that is called HSLDA. It's an organization of very high-powered attorneys. You can join, and they will fight tooth and nail for you if you're a homeschooler and the public school tries to mess with you.
What does that mean, HSLDA?
Homeschool Legal Defense Association. And it's been around for a very long time. Even when I don't know if you guys followed any of the Harvard stuff, where that one Harvard professor was saying all kinds of things about homeschooling. Then another Harvard professor, Carrie McDonald, was advocating for us. And the people from HSLDA were even on that call with Harvard. It's a very big, powerful organization in our state. We don't have to use them much because we're so free, but it's nice to know that they're there. And for $100 a year membership, you can be protected by them. So that's just some big picture things about homeschooling. So the thing about homeschooling, I tell people, is that when you decide to homeschool, you are freeing yourself, and you're making yourself the boss now instead of the school being the boss. So it doesn't mean that because you're the boss that you will never pluck anything out of the public school to do, but it'll be on your terms, and it'll be your decision to do it. You won't be under their guidelines. And I can only assure you that you don't have to study what's on the Michigan Merit to be an educated person. I can tell you that from my experience and experience of many other people. And I know that that's kind of nerve-wracking to people who are used to public school. I mean, I was used to public school myself. That's where I went. I was fine, everything. So, I was used to that. But you don't. A lot of it can be experiential learning. A lot of it can be what I call passion learning. Like, you find something that your kids are interested in, and they will learn everything through that. Like my son, for example, he liked animals. You take him to Santa, he'd ask for a goat. He honestly learned about everything a person would want to know through animals. So there's a multitude of ways that you can homeschool. You can also do school at home, I call it. You can get your kids up at 9 o'clock in the morning and have them do math. You can have them do language arts at 10, and you can do it that way too. But the strong belief in what I do is that parents know what's best for their children. Whatever parent they are, or whatever obstacles anyone has, in every mom's heart is a desire to do what's right for their child. And they will try their best to make that happen.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, so that's a really core belief of us. So we're not there as homeschoolers to tell anybody what to do, but we're certainly there to bring you up in your nervous times. Because believe me, sometimes as a homeschool mom, you're like, oh my God, am I ruining my child? We have a joke in homeschooling. We say we're all looking for a kid a couple years older than our kid that's still okay.
Make sure they already gone through it. You're like, okay, you'll survive. You'll survive.
My kid is 12 now. I see this 14-year-old. They're fine, so I'm good. But it's kind of a joke. But it's just an example of how we network together and we help each other. Right. So the other thing is that homeschooling protects you from the system's rules.
Mm-hmm.
So the law of homeschooling doesn't require you to register anything. You don't even have to tell the school that you're homeschooling. The problem is if you get on the truancy list, and that's a
Yeah.
lot of the problem with people is, you know, if they don't attend school, if you get on the truancy list, they're going to come after you. So we always advise people to notify their school. You don't have to tell them anything except for you are exercising your rights to homeschool your child. That's all you have to tell them, but I would send it by registered mail. I'd keep a copy of it, and I'd keep that registered mailed slip that you get back and keep it in your home at all times. So you have a record of it, that you've told the school that.
What about, so talking about mail, that's a whole nother story, but
Oh, I know.
what about if
You need a whole
parents,
show on the mail.
right, right.
Well,
What about if
you
they
could do it.
email, like if
You
they
could,
email the
yeah, or
administrators and stuff to make sure?
yeah, or you can go right into the school and make them sign it right in front of
Hmm.
you too. But
Okay.
you could do it by email and have copy of the emails as well. But some record that nobody can mess with, you know, that say you made it up or something, but something very official that you have sent to let the school know that you're homeschooling. And that just kind of frees you. You know, somebody said once, how do you become a homeschooler? And I said, well, on your way home today, just sit in your car and say, I'm a homeschooler, and you're freed, you know, because that's as simple as it is.
So,
So that can take a lot of stress off of people.
mhm. So let's go back a little bit, because you talked about a whole lot, and I would love for you to explain two things. So one, this curriculum that we're talking about, right? So they can't take their core classes, but they can take the extra curriculum classes.
Right.
And how would a parent do that? And then the other thing is, you talked about your son being in college, in high school, and so we know that as PA classes, right? Students go to those classes while they're doing high school, but the way you explained it was totally different.
Yeah, well, it is because of the advent of the early college. We've always had dual enrollment, but now most districts have the early college. And unfortunately, they can put different rules on it. Like the state allows your child to go to school, to go to college in ninth grade, as early as ninth grade.
Mm-hmm.
Many schools will tell you you can't go until 11th grade because they kind of gear it toward the way their system works. But
Yeah.
you can, you know, you can go in ninth grade if you want to. So it's kind of like every mom knows it's not like you're going to put your ninth grader in a full curriculum and have them take 17 credit hours or anything like that. But it's time to start dabbling and build their confidence that they can go to college.
And
So
how would a parent do that though? So my daughter's in 11th grade, or yeah, I'll just use her. My daughter's in 11th grade. I'm homeschooling this year. She only needs like 3 classes to graduate, but she has to go to all these other classes to meet this Michigan standard. So how would she do that to actually enroll in college and everything, and be considered just doing the college classes?
well, this is where you have to partner with a school.
Okay.
That's where you have to partner with the school. And so when you're partnered with the school, you can do both with the school.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to push because they might try to talk you out of it or say, oh, why are you doing this or why are you doing that? The funny thing is a lot of schools want a grade point to be involved. And what we found over the years is there are kids, and I know plenty of them myself, that were failed in the public school and went to college and did just fine.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
middle of all their failure, they went into the college, and just because of the difference in the atmosphere of the college and so forth, they did just fine. But there's no legal thing that says you have to have a certain grade point to do it.
Okay. So how do they partner with the school? Are you saying partner with the college or partner with the high school?
Well, you can partner with the college but no, you can only partner with the college if you're in private school. If you're just a homeschooler, in order to get into this early college dual enrollment that the state has, you have to partner with the school, which means you have to go to your district. Say you go to district, you know, you're in district ABC, you go to that district and you say, I want my child to go. Now they make you decide on early college at the end of your 10th grade year. So when you say your daughter's going into 11th grade, she could get into the early college now, and then you get another year of high school. So when you get into the early college, you're entitled to what they call a 5th year. senior. And so that gives you one extra year, because most of the kids that go to the early college will come out with an associate's degree or 60 transferable credits, which is 2 years of free college. It's nothing to sneeze at, right?
And the school is paying for that.
Yes, and the state's paying for it. So the state is limited to a certain amount. It'll generally cover 100% of a junior college. It won't cover 100% of a university, but it will cover the junior college. And that's where most go, because obviously we're not going to send our kids off in that young to a university. So those are just some of the things that, you know, that are available. And it's really like a matter of each person sitting down and figuring out what they want their kid to do. You can almost do anything you want, really. You just have to kind of figure it out. One of the people that I used to work with, he said, I was hired to say yes. And he really was. It was just, we can say yes to everything if it's legal. As long as it's legal, we can say yes to it. So there's a lot of things there, and there's a lot of parents now who are strictly homeschooling, and that's it. That's all they do. There's some parents that do a little bit of public school and a little bit of homeschool. But what parents traditionally, the reason homeschool parents did not embrace the public schools in the past was because we're homeschoolers, which means we don't want our kids to go to school, right? So why would we go to school? And the way they had it is, you can come to school and take a non-essential class, but you have to do it on our schedule, which means you have to come every Tuesday from 10 to 11. The way we have developed these programs around the state is that we create our own program, keeping our autonomy as homeschoolers. And that's where I think you were talking about these partnerships that have sprung up around the state.
Yes.
So do you want me to talk about that, kind of like?
Yes, I do, because I want parents to see how, even if like their child's school, because here in Detroit, so me and you were both transparent about the fact, like, this has been something more white communities have been allowed to do or been doing, right? Because Black people haven't been privy of it, right? Like Detroit hasn't been as privy to it. We have a few parents who may be, but to the extreme that you're talking about, we don't have that in Detroit, really. And so I think we have it in a couple other cities that's a little far out from Detroit, but not really in Detroit.
Yeah, it'd be a great spot. It'd be a great spot to have one. So this is what a partnership is. So I'll just give you a brief history of it, so maybe it'll help everyone understand it more. So a few years ago, well, more than a few years, about maybe 13 years ago, I went to visit my friend in Washington who had moved from Michigan. She was a homeschool buddy of mine. Our kids were friends. I went out there, and she was going to her public school, and they were getting funding for her, and she was getting services from them. And I'm like, this is really cool. Like, how could we do that? So I came back here and I started thinking, how could we do it here? Because this is why we don't go to public school, because they make us come every day. So anyways, one thing led to another, and I shopped around for a superintendent that was innovative thinking that I thought I could partner with. And I was working with this friend of mine, Kathy Joyce, and she found this guy down in Berrien Springs. His name was Jim Birmingham, and he was willing to work with us and respect us as homeschoolers. So that was our very first partnership. And anybody can go on Berrien Springs site and see the partnership is still there today. So we started with Berrien Springs. So in the beginning, it was strictly financial. You're going to get money from us, not all the money, but you're going to get a partial funding from us, and we're going to get free stuff. It was just right on the table. That's the way it was. We didn't use all the money that we brought into the district. We just wanted our free stuff, just so it covered what we needed for free.
Yeah.
And we were getting like a lot of cool stuff. Like in phys ed, we were doing horseback riding and karate and gymnastics and swimming and, Kalamazoo climbing and the Y and all sorts of stuff. Because that's how we homeschool, is out in our community. We homeschool in our community. As homeschoolers, we use those things. So I was going to the community out there in Berrien Springs with my friend Kathy, and we were saying, like, what do you guys do in the community? Like, what do you want? She was from down there, so she knew some of it. And then we started partnering with those places that homeschoolers were using anyway and building it into our program. So that's kind of how we started. And I think Berrien Springs, we thought, like, a lot of homeschoolers were against it because they thought we were going to ruin the good laws that we had, that when the public school got their hands on us, they were going to try to change us. And then they were going to say, well, they don't even need to homeschool. They can just do what we do. But the absolute opposite happened in a very organic way. We never entered the public school to try to change them. We just didn't want them to change us. But when they started to see how free people can be educated and not be in the system, and then we don't have to take the testing. Actually, no parent in Michigan has to take the testing, but we're the type of people that rebel. So you don't have to take the testing, but some of us wanted to. And like when we took it, we would do better than the public school kids. And they're like, how can this be? You guys don't do the Michigan Merit, like we don't even care about the Michigan Merit or even know what's on the Michigan Merit, And my answer was always because because our kids know how to think. They haven't been told and regimented. They learn to think in their free education. And so, they figure it out. But anyways, so the school started seeing this as a different way of educating kids. And they just started to say, gee, maybe we should do some of this kind of stuff for all kids. So at the time, Mike Flanagan was the superintendent of public education at that time. And we worked a lot with him, and we've done a lot of advocacy in Lansing with the legislature, with the state superintendent. And Mike found out that he never knew it, but he said, as state superintendent, if something isn't actually in statute, I can waive it. So y'all might have heard of something called the seat time waiver that they use in the virtual schools.
You said Z time?
Seat time, like you're sitting in a seat in school. So it's waiving the seat time. So it's waiving that time that a student has to spend, which is 180 hours per class in a seat. It's waiving that. And way back then, he waived that for the people that were doing virtual, because when you're doing virtual education, it's not going to take you as long as when you're sitting in a classroom with 30 other kids, right? So you can get done much faster. You don't have to spend that kind of time. So he waived that. That was something that he as state superintendent didn't even know, but from working with us and discussing, and we all were trying to find different ways to do things, like he discovered that. And that was a big change in education. Maybe some of you remember then Snyder came on board. And when Snyder came on board, he didn't do what is usual, which even though state superintendent is supposed to be a bipartisan job, it isn't, so they all knew that Governor Snyder was a Republican, and they knew that Flanagan was a Democrat, but he kept him on. And they did great work together for that very reason. And so Snyder came up, maybe you guys heard about on the news, like he had this any place, anytime, any pace, anytime, any place thing, where students could learn virtually anywhere they wanted to. And so that was a big deal. And that kind of started and opened the door for a lot of the innovation. So there were certain districts, not most of them, but a few districts that started to kind of collaborate with each other and said, we want to do this. We like this. And meanwhile, I was in the meetings, kind of as a homeschooler, and they're asking me things like, well, how did your kid go to college? I'm like, he never even had a diploma. They said, oh, he never had a diploma? What did you do? I said, I asked him one day, would you like a high school diploma? He said, nah, I don't care about one. I said, okay, fine, move along,
And but he has a college degree.
Yeah. But there was really, when they go to school and they get associate's degrees and you're not in the system looking for that. And as a homeschooler, you can write up your own diploma. It's perfectly legal for you to write your own diploma.
So now let's backtrack for 1 minute. So the partnerships that you're talking about with the schools, you guys had conversations with the superintendent. Right. For your kids to come to school, for your kids children's dollars that are supposed to follow the children will stay at the school, with the exception of the portion that you needed for the extracurriculum activities.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And so, but you had a partnership with them that you no longer utilize their extracurriculum activities. You actually hold that money. You don't hold it, but you can spend that money on resources.
Yeah, it's still. Yeah, the money's in their hands, but they agree that we can create our own stuff. And that's what we did, because we were people who educated our kids in the community. So like one example of that would be, so when we were with Berrien Springs, people wanted table tennis. The homeschoolers were asking for table tennis. So Jim says, the superintendent says, oh, our phys ed teacher would be happy to teach table tennis. We're like, oh no, the Olympic champion is down in Notre Dame. That's who we want to be taught by. So we're going down there, you know? So
Wow.
those were some of the things, you know, just kind of to make an emphasis on the things that can go on. So so anyway, we started, and so I live up in Battle Creek, Michigan, and so I was, you know, trying to find somebody around my area that would do this, because this place was way down in Berrien Springs, and you know, and I wanted something in my area. So it took me about 3 years to find the right, it's got to be the right superintendent. It does not have to be the superintendent that you live in their district. It can be anybody that you can find. So I finally, after quite a few years, the district that I live in got a new superintendent, because I had gone to the old one and he was just like, you know, looking at his watch and like, get this crazy lady out of my office. And then they got a new one, and I heard he used to be a state policeman. So I thought, oh God, he's going to be like really bureaucratic if he was a policeman, you know, but he wasn't. What a wonderful guy. And he got him and his whole staff in there. And anyway, 10 years ago, we opened the Gull Lake Partnership. And in between there and after that, many more opened up. We have one in Saugatuck. We have one in Hamilton. We have one in Three Rivers. We have one in Niles and Berrien Springs and Gull Lake, and Lapeer and Centerline and Oxford. We have a lot of them around.
Wow.
I think there's
and say that name of that partnership again.
Oxford. Oh, which one?
You said Gull Lake.
Gull Lake, like Gullack. So these are all around the state, and we're very well organized. We every single one of them is run by a homeschool mom, every single one of them. And because our homeschool people are reluctant about the public schools, so they want to deal with other homeschool people that have, like when I first started ours, I think I told you, Bernita, I got a bunch of homeschoolers that I knew to go with the meetings with me and stuff to make sure we all felt comfortable with what they were telling us. And we did that in all the areas. The superintendent that you find is key, and they have to be involved. So, so anyway, so these started popping up around the state. Well, after a few years, when the state saw how much more kids were coming into the schools and everything, they decided that they were going to put a cap on us. So they capped our growth at 10% now a couple of years ago, because these partnerships were growing like crazy. So, so they capped it. I wasn't really that upset about it, because these partnerships need to be in the neighborhoods where the people live. Now I can take people from all over the state, but you're not going to drive down to Kalamazoo to go to the Y, or, you know, go horseback riding, right?
Right.
So they
and then
really,
it benefits the schools right there. So let's talk about that a little bit. So schools are concerned that when parents homeschool, they're taking dollars out of the schools, right? So schools it would be in their best advantage if they actually partner with parents like this.
Yeah, it would be.
They get to keep
it would be their best. Like you said it really well when I talked to you. You said like about telling the superintendent, you can even lose these people altogether, or you can get something for them, you know?
Yes.
And that's really, that was the crux of it in the beginning, but it's developed into a much more trusting relationship now between us homeschoolers and the public school. Not to say that we're not watching every move they make, because we are, but they've really, the district I'm in has built up so much trust, and the rest of them as well, with the public school, because they've really left us alone. They haven't tried to change us. I mean, they have to make sure, and we make sure too, that we follow the law exactly, you know, that we follow all the state laws that involve our type of education. And we've learned them, and, you know, we almost know them like the back of our hand. And we make sure that all that is in place, because that's how the school gets their money. You know, that's how they get it, so they can give us stuff. And now, like at some of the districts, like the regular students are participating in some of our stuff. So say they go to the regular, I call it the brick and mortar school. If they go to the brick and mortar school and they're taking their core there, they can still do their electives with us. So sometimes they do that, you know, they'll just take the 4 classes and they'll take electives with us. So,
and when a family does this, right? When they find the programs, like you say, you wanted to use the Olympic coach
yeah.
for table tennis. Does that person have to be cleared through the district? How did that go?
Well, we tell the district who they are, and then they do the whole background check and fingerprinting and all that they would do with any other person that would have contact with their students. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a process that we go through just to make sure that in my little area, I'm not in a really big area, but we have 87 outside partners that we work with.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but we, you know, you have to do all that stuff. You know, we have to check them and make sure that their background check and all that kind of stuff. So we do all those things.
Wow.
And like we don't let anybody do something like at their home, you know, like some music people will teach music at their home. We don't let any of that kind of stuff happen. Like they either have to teach it at our building, or they have to teach it in a public place, or they have to have a freestanding studio that they teach from. So, you know, we have a lot of safety measures in place to make sure that our children are safe. But in homeschooling, most of the time the parents are with their children. However, sometimes it's grandma and grandpa or an aunt or an uncle, or they, you know, they work together. And, you know, like if you and I were homeschooling together, I might say, hey, Bernita, can you take my kids to swimming today? I'm busy. And another day you might tell me, hey, I got to go to Myers. Can you watch my kids while I run to Myers? And, you know, homeschoolers like do that. They help each other out like that. So that, and that's fine. But the kids always have someone with them wherever they go.
I like that. I like the community.
It's all the kids
community
too.
mindset about it.
Because, yeah, exactly.
And that's building power within community, and it's building the support, you know, a support net for one another.
It is, and that's the best thing about homeschooling is you have that support with you, you know, and the parents want to be with their kids. You know, they want to be there and see what they're doing, and the kids like to have their parents there too. Now we have our own building. Not every partnership has their own building. You don't have to have your own building, but we happen to have our building. But lucky for us, it's like 11 miles from the school. So we're not around the school campus. We're out in the woods. We have a stream, and we just operate in a very homeschool manner. None of our teachers discipline the kids. All they might do is come and just tell the parent, we think your child like needs you. They wouldn't start complaining and griping about your child. That's not their place. They're all certified teachers. All of our teachers are certified Michigan teachers. And everyone eats when they want. I think I told you that, you know, they eat when they're hungry. They go to the bathroom without asking people, and they drink when they're thirsty. And we have our own kitchen. Everybody just feeds their kids whenever their kids are hungry. If they want to go back into the classroom with a sandwich. The funniest thing I ever saw with that rule right there is this. So we have quite a few things that we do are music oriented. So we have an ensemble group, and the guy who was in the ensemble, they were playing and the teacher was playing with them, and they're playing a song. All of a sudden he stops, nobody else stops. He just stops, goes and gets a sandwich, comes and sits down, eats the sandwich, and then starts playing again, and nobody else ever stopped.
Wow.
That was the ultimate
freedom, right?
Eating when you're hungry, you know?
Wow. Yeah, I have a ton of questions for you. I really would love to set up some time for us to discuss like how you got in with some of those superintendents and what I can show to some of our superintendents here, you know, the value and the growth in how it helped the schools, because our schools, like you said earlier, like I was telling them, you either gonna lose the kids or you can partner with them and it becomes something that can actually be successful for families. Because right now, most of the schools are virtual anyway. And a lot of parents are saying, like, I don't want my child to be virtual, but some of the schools, they have to now. And this is an opportunity for us to do homeschooling, you know, but still partner with those schools to get what we need. And I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah, and if you ever did, hone in on a superintendent you thought there was a chance with, we can always put them in touch with other superintendents that are doing this.
Mm,
There's a group, you can look it up online. It's called the Michigan Co-op. This
okay.
is a group of superintendents that are doing this around the state. And we have 2 annual meetings a year. And if we get a district that's interested in it, we will let them come to one of our meetings as a guest so they can meet all the other superintendents and learn about it and that type of thing. I also have, of course, this year I didn't, but in normal times I have a conference just for the homeschool partnership people. And I really don't call it homeschool partnership anymore. I just call it partnership because it's so many variety of people. We also have our own conference every year in Kalamazoo at the Gilmore Antique Car Museum. And so that's another place that a lot of people that are interested will come to learn about it, because the superintendents, it's good for them if they meet other superintendents that do this and they can ask them questions and things like that. It helps them. But they got to have you'll know when you meet the right person. Let me just tell you that. You'll know. You'll go to a few and you just know they're not right. They'll ask like goofy questions and they'll, be fidgety and not paying attention. But you'll know when you meet the right person, you'll be able to tell. And when you meet that person, then we can start,
Real conversation.
getting them the information that they need. Yeah.
Okay. The other question I had was, so when the children go off to college, so not junior college, but when they go off to like a university or something, it's pretty much, it makes me think of the Finland model. In Finland, their students at like around 16, they start college. So really, 10th grade they start college. And by 12th grade, they're graduating with that associate's. How many youth could you get like to say, like give a testimony to us of how that journey was? Because I would love to.
We have lots of them now. We have lots of them, that have gone through the early college and graduated with associate's degrees. And there's a lot of dynamics to that. So like when we didn't have this when my son was younger, but he just kind of did it on his own. But my thought was that why would you want to get an associate's degree if you're going to get a 4-year degree? I thought that would be a waste of time. But what I learned was when you get an associate's degree in the field you're going into, you can actually work in that field during your last 2 years of college. And then not only do you graduate college, but you also have 2 years of experience. So that's a really big plus to that. The way it is you can get the associate's degree or you can get 60 transferable credits. But we're learning that associate's degree is valuable because you have that credential. You can start like all the medical people, like that's what my son went into. So if you start out, you can in high school, you can get like an EMT, then you can go to paramedic, then you can go to nurse, then you can go to nurse practitioner, and so if you're at, say, paramedic, when you get out of high school, you can start working right away. Yeah. And then
so
you're
18 going into a career, and possibly that organization may have some tuition reimbursement.
Right.
Also.
Exactly. Yes. And that's what happened to my son. He was actually, when he graduated, he was not 18 yet. But you have 18 months to take the state exam. So I bridged that with an internship, but then when he turned 18, he could take the exam. So he finished before, but he had to wait till he was 18 because then, because of all the laws and everything about working, but he was able to do an internship on the ambulance while he was waiting.
Wow.
And so that's another big thing about homeschooling is doing internships. If you find out what your child's interested in and you get them into internships early so they can see what that career is like. Now, my niece was a different story. She always wanted to be a pharmacist. The minute I got her this internship at Rite Aid, after 1 week, she's like, I don't want to be a pharmacist. I hate it. You're stuck back there in that tiny little spot.
So she not wasting time.
Yeah. So it's good for them to see, before they get done.
And that's the reason why Finland does it the way that they do it. Their whole model is to let you kind of entrench yourself in something and see if that's really what you want to do, right? Because
Exactly.
you're gonna waste time. Like they've taken their prerequisites. So the prerequisites generally go for every subject, right?
Yeah,
So, but then they give them this adventure to actually learn what they want to do. And
exactly.
that
Yeah,
stops you from wasting dollars, college dollars, that stop you from wasting time with life. Like, if I want to be a fisherman, this is what I'm about to do. If I want to be a
right,
dentist, this is what I need to be doing. You
right.
know, wow.
And then on in these junior colleges, we've seen a lot of kids now starting to go into like welding, electrical, plumbing, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I'll tell you, these welding kids are like wanted. They're desperate
Mm-hmm.
for welders. And one of our kids became an underwater welder. And he's like living in a condo in Key West now. And he works like 3 months on, 3 months off. And he's making over $100,000 a year.
Wow.
So the
Wow.
trades are really something. When I was in school, like the trades were like nothing, like no parent wanted their kid to go into it, they wanted, but the trades
Yeah.
have really shown to be very beneficial to a lot of kids. And you can do that. You can come out with your welding certificate or your credential for robotics or whatever they
And
offer
then
at
if you
the.
decide to go be an engineer later, you still got time because you're young, right?
Exactly. And plus it's a great prerequisite to engineering is to get, like if you want to be a robotics engineer, getting a certification in robotics is golden.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well, Cindy, I am going to have you back on because we have so much to talk about. I'm outdone. Our conversation this week just blew my mind because I was like, this is what I've been thinking in my head, like how, and the questions that parents have had in the city of Detroit and all over. Like parents are like, how do we do this homeschool thing? How is this going to look? People keep saying that I can go, to the district and my child can take classes at the school, but I really don't even want them involved with the school, right? So if we can create these partnerships with some of the superintendents to say, you about to lose the kids anyway. You're about to lose them. So your best bet is to partner with us. I mean, I'm giving a challenge even to our superintendent, to Dr. Vitti, to the Ralph Blands, to all the superintendents we have in our city. You are about to lose children. You're about to lose families. Families are saying, I am about to tap out, like time out, I'm about to homeschool. So you're about to lose funding. The best bet would be for you to help create these partnerships right here in Detroit. Why haven't we been here at these partnerships, right? We have some, but they work in silos, right? And people don't want you to know about them because they are too afraid that if they lose too many kids, then they're going to lose all the parents. But if you become a partner of the parents, this is the best time to become a partner of a parent whose child, like my child, or whose child is in the second grade and they're like, look, I just want to homeschool for the rest of his life, or seventh grade and it's been a challenge. He's had a challenge at school because the teachers weren't treating him right, or because the school didn't have what my child needed. And I know that there's superintendents who's talked about like this is a direct attack on the schools and funding. Well, we just explained to you how some schools have actually kept their funding through allowing parents, through partnering, not allowing, through partnering with homeschool parents. So why won't you be that partner for us?
that's
So,
exactly right. And we had a lot of the brick and mortar students from the schools coming to the partnerships. And one day I called the superintendent and I said, I'm getting a lot of your people wanting to come into my partnership. How do you feel about that? I didn't know what he was going to say. He said, I feel great because I would lose those people if I didn't have this other alternative for them. So that's what you would be. You would be that other alternative to keep that child in their district that might leave and go to another district or to a charter school.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's you're right on exactly on the right thinking. And to say nothing of the fact that people are scared of homeschooling. It is so much easier to homeschool your child than to put up with all the stuff of the school. Like, for example, high school kids, they're not wired to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be doing
Yeah.
math at 8 o'clock. Let them sleep in and start doing stuff at noon. We saw as soon as we opened virtual way back when that got popular, the high school kids were doing most of their work from 8 o'clock at night until 2 in the morning. That's fine. let them work then, you know.
As long as they're
It
getting it
fits.
done, right? As long as they're
Yeah.
getting it done. That's because we want them to be, we've been trained to have our children be robotic and be in this little square right here when the world is this. The world is all of this. And yeah, so I
And
just
then
thank
you look at your moms too, like what talent do you have? Like me, I'm not good at all at math. So my friend, she was much better at math. So like I would let her do that. Now I'm really good at language arts and history, and I might do that. I can teach somebody about things that I'm passionate about, you know. And you look for what kind of talent you have right in your own homeschool moms, you know.
all
Somebody's
community.
an artist, somebody's does crafts, you know. Kids
Wow.
learn from all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And just the fact that they have contact with a variety of ages is very important, that they're not just cloistered up with all sixth graders or all eighth graders. They have exposure, and then they have exposure to the community. So they're out in the community getting exposure to adults and meeting different people and
creating possibly new community partnerships. Like you said, you brought a guy from the Olympics here, right? You know,
yeah.
to help educate kids on something that who better to learn. Like I would love to have one of the Pistons or one of the Lakers
Yeah.
actually teaching our young kids basketball, right?
Exactly. And I'm sure you could make that happen. I mean, Detroit is, you know, I think I told you I belong to this North Dakota study group, and I was really good friends with Grace Boggs. And so I've been up in the
Yes.
communities there. And I mean, you guys have got resources like unbelievable. And the communities, Grace called them beloved communities from what Martin Luther King said. And I was just blown away by the caring for each other and the way they helped each other and the bonding of community members. I've never seen anything like it. It was beautiful.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Cindy.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you. I'm
Thank you.
excited for you guys. Anything I
I'm
can do to
excited.
help, I'm really happy to help you in any way that you think I can be of help to you.
I so appreciate it. And I will be calling on you. I promise. I promise you I
Okay.
will. So
Okay.
thank you all. This has been the Apparent Voice. It is Friday, August 21st. Exciting news this day. Like the news is just phenomenal to know that parents have access to what they need. And I'm going to sign off now because I'm a little bit over. But thank you again to the National Parent Union for being able to support a lot of the work that parents are doing across the country. Please go to the National Parent Union site and look at all the winners for the first allotment of grants that will go towards pod schools, homeschooling initiatives across the country. So that means moms like me, moms like Stacy, moms like Tamara, we will have support. We will have support to actually make sure our homeschooling is what our kids need to be. And I'm making more connections. If you have connections, connect me with those connections, and I'll connect you with my connections so that we can do this homeschool thing right, and we can show people how it's done, and our superintendents will have to partner with us. Thank you. This has been the Apparent Voice. Love you all.